Hi all, and welcome to the video. In this one, I keep getting asked the question, Carlos, how do you record all your AO or other videos? Well, I'm going to tell you. Right, now, as you can see, I'm logged into game Anarchy Online at the moment, and I'm just on a little Rube account I've got, and usually this guy doesn't do much else except run back and forth buying med suits. That's his job. Useful to have, and I recommend that to anyone that wants to make a few quid on the clan side. Now then, the way I record. Okay, now I use two programs predominantly for the capture portion of the videos. Now, the first one is Shadowplay. Now, hopefully this won't crash out while I'm doing it. I have it set really quite high, as you can see here. I'm at 1080p, 60 frames a second, at 50 megabytes per second. Now, before someone posts,
But you don't really need to have it at 50 megabytes per second, yeah, because it'll only be...
shut up and listen. Now, while I'm stood here, I'm probably capturing at around anywhere between 16 and 24 megabyte per second. But as soon as I start moving quickly, or there's a lot more people on the screen, or more activity, i.e. a raid, then that will start peaking at 48, 46, and even 50 megabyte per second. Now, if you don't have what we'll call elbow room or wiggle room in your recording stream, then you will get massive pixelation because there is not enough bandwidth for the image data to be recorded. So I leave it set there. Now, Shadowplay is very clever in that if it's only using 60 or so megabyte per second, then it will stay at 16 or 12 or 8 or whatever it needs to record the footage it's actually looking at. Now, the drawback with Shadowplay, obviously, is you need to have an NVIDIA card, which isn't a massive drawback, but it needs to be, at the very least, a 600 plus graphics card. In short, it needs to be something really like a 660 or higher, maybe a 650, for it to be all that effective. So if you don't have that card, I would probably recommend something like OBS or DxTory. I would absolutely not recommend Fraps. Fraps is really out of date now. Yes, it's good. Yes, the footage is lossless, but it does have many drawbacks. So I'm going to concentrate on specifically how I record footage in games. There are hardware solutions which are possibly better, but they would require a 2 PC setup, which I'm not going to bother doing because I don't really need to. The system I've got will support what I'm trying to do all the time. Now, to sync up videos, I don't use Shadowplay's audio to record my speaking voice as I'm playing the game, and I 99.999% of the time I'm recording what I'm saying as I'm playing the game. For me, it's a lot easier. It's also, if I say anything comical or funny, you don't lose that comic timing because it all happens in real time. Now, as well as that, you can quite often look back at footage thinking you'll talk over it, but can't remember precisely what it was you were thinking at the time you were playing. And you get a discontinuity when you try and sort of voice over. Occasionally you can do it just to correct things, but for the main part, I'm recording what I'm saying right now. So I'm going to go jump, 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 and we're all recording and everything's in sync. So anything I say or do is happening in real time as it's being recorded. Now, to record my voice, I use another program. Let's just jump to that now. And this is like Recordception, because I've got a lot of different stuff recording at the same time. So I'm using this program. It's called Adobe Audition. I use it because the engine it runs with is really very good. I've used this since the 90s when it was called Cool Edit Pro. Now, the microphone I'm using, I've shown you before, it's a Shure SM58. That's going into a small mixing desk and then into the PC itself. I tend to leave the microphone completely flat for the simple reason that I have to trim off bass on my speaking voice because it naturally has a lot of bass to it, and that can, with the way people set their speakers up on PCs, they tend to be like a sub and a couple of satellites or more, and it's just too much because of the way those speaker systems work. All the bass end in my voice just sort of drowns out everything else, so I actually trim bass off my speaking voice. It's something to be mindful of. Now then, as you can see, I'm recording here, but let's just zoom in a little bit as we live record. Now, to sync the two up, I've got Press to Talk active on Shadowplay. So if I use the Press to Talk button, and I use an old cigarette lighter over here, and press and go. There you go. 3 very big, noisy clicks. Now, I usually do that at the very start of a video, so that when we come to assembly, it's a lot simpler to sync up the video and the audio. So that's the 2 bits of recording software I'm using. So for now, we're going to drop out of the game. So let's imagine we've done our mission. We've pretty sure we covered everything in it, and we're now logging off. Now at this point, I would normally switch the Shadowplay capture off and go start editing my audio. Okay, so we've done all that, and I've started up the software I use, which is Adobe Premiere Pro, and I'm going to tell it that we're going to make a new project. Now, I have templates, but just to sort of show you, I have them set up in different folders, the scratch discs, all of this stuff I'm not going to go into. There are a absolute ton of videos telling you how to best set them up according to your system. I use the Mercury playback with GPU acceleration. Your system will be dependent on that. So we'll give it a title, and we're going to call it AO VIDS. Simple as. You say OK, and the default window you'll get here is the editing window. Now, the first thing I'll do is import. Now, the footage I just recorded will actually be in a folder. I'll just show you now. On my computer, I have it set up to record to a spare SSD, which isn't very big, but it serves the purpose. I've got a ton of stuff and junk in there, so no different from anyone else. So I go into here, and I was recording desktop. So I'll import that, which will be this file here, which is, or will it be that one? It's that one. That's the one I'm actually recreating as I'm speaking now. So that's it there. We'll open up that file. Now, you'll see this bar here, conforming, desktop, blah, 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 blah. I'll normally, if there's more than one file, and there normally is on a longer video, I'll rename them. Now then, I can import this directly, or I can create a new sequence. So what I'll usually do is say new and sequence. Now, I've got these pre-set up, and I'll show you what this sort of setup is. You can see AO 1080p 60 frames. So if you want to set one of those up, I did it from, let's have a look. I think it was from XD Cam. I started with one of those. I think it was that one. And I went to settings. So I then changed it from that to custom. Changed the frame rate to 60, as you can see there. And you can see the frame size is pretty off. So we need to change that to 1920 to 1080. We don't want that. We want square pixels. Fields, none. It should be progressive scan. And 60 frames per second. Time code, 48000. Sample rate, audio samples, and then this you can kind of leave. It'll figure it all out, and we're going to call this AO How To, and that's more or less it. So that's now created a sequence, which you can see is blank. So we've got the actual footage and a blank thing there. So if we move this across, We'll keep the existing settings, and you can see there is our game footage. Now, I usually just expand these slightly so I can read them. It'll depend on your resolution and setup. So now I can actually see the waveform along here, and you can see right at the end, I did that. And you can see as it was recording in there, it was doing that. So I'll go and grab that file. So we say import. I'll grab the audio file, which is this one. I shall import that. And again, let Adobe do its thing. It just did very quickly there. And we'll throw that onto that audio timeline there. And again, you can now see the footage. Now, to sync these up, it's a little easier to see when you do it at the beginning of a video, but we want to get those 3 markers lined up. Now, if you're moving the video footage, you'll notice, okay, that looks pretty close, but that's not really good enough for me. I like to get it much closer. So it's actually, you can move the audio track at much finer increments, which means you'll get it absolutely perfect. Now, this is a bugbear, but believe me, it's worth it. Now, if we set this to audio time units, it can go in even finer still. Otherwise, you get a sort of a flam effect. Otherwise, it's kind of a delay. So let's just get our playhead right on top here, zooming in, and then basically you want to match up the 2 waveforms. We're almost there. Another 6 samples. And there we go. That's about it. Let's go all the way in. And you can kind of see if you follow the playhead line, it's clicking away like crazy now. And the reason it's clicking is because that's the sound. But you can see how the waveform, where it goes up, it goes up. Where it goes down, is all perfectly aligned. And then what I'll normally do is highlight all of them and then tell it to group. And that's it. So that's our audio and video synced. Just so I know what the video was, I'll do that, which is double click, and then head that back somewhere near there. Now, I know when I started, I was checking the microphone out, so you'll hear this is me speaking as I was doing it. Hi all, and welcome to the video. Like so. And so I know the video needs to start about there, so I will clip that too. And then highlight the whole thing and drag it to about there. Hi all, and welcome to the... Is a good place to start. Now I've got some effects I'll add straight away. One is fading in, called Film Dissolve, and exponential fade. And I'll use those. They're sort of pretty much at default. And you can see straight away that's bleeding over where I was talking. So I'll just extend it back slightly, just so it stops fading out or in just as I start speaking. So, all right, okay. There we go. And then I can move that directly over there. Now, I tell you what the video's about. Well, I'm going to tell you. And about there seems like a good place to run the intro. So I'll switch to the razor tool over here, and I'll cut about there. And you can see I've stopped talking for a few seconds, and I'll do the same there. Now, I highlight. Oop. Ah, yeah, it's because they're grouped. So I'm going to tell it to ungroup for a second. Right, I can now remove that. Grab that. Now, I've already got a pre-rendered intro sequence, which I'm sure you've all seen. So I'll tell it to import. I'll go back to my folder, and you can see somewhere, yeah, new titles 1. So I'll import that. Go back here, grab this, and grab that, and sync them all up nice and tight. Now, if I just play that, it's quite jarring to my eyes. So what I do is I go to Film Dissolve, and I might need to zoom in a bit more. And sometimes this can be finicky, but yeah, it's being finicky. that's not quite locked in. So we'll move there. I don't think snapping's quite working. Yeah, it's not doing it today for some reason. So I'm going to do a fade there. Lock them in. Hopefully the audio fade. No, that's not going to work either. So if you get this problem, what I would do is this. And then same again on the other side. So exponential fade. Just so things run a little more smoothly. And again there. Highlight and drag them along. I've already got fade in and out on this. So now when I run the sequence. Hi all and welcome to the video. So I'm just yabbering there. Hi all and I was trying not to sneeze. So okay, we don't need that very first bit. So let's just bring that in and then we can highlight the entire thing. Move it right across and let's watch back. Hi all and welcome to the video. In this one, I keep getting asked the question, Carlos, how do you record all your AO or other videos? Well, I'm going to tell you. There we go, and all looks very familiar. Now, as it comes out of there, I think we need to tell everyone what this is about. So I will use a title. We'll go here, and we'll just leave it as title 1. Now, I've been making these titles for a very long time. I used to use this one preset. I'll show you now. And if we put it on there, then it'll start telling me what it does, and it's all this. However, I don't really use that one anymore. I found a better font to use, and it's AO title. And there we go. I've moved it up to the top. So I'll say it's this one. Then I go to the text tool, move it there, and I will type Anarchy online, like so. And I think, well, I'll just make that a bit bigger. And rather than drag the box, what I will do generally is to keep the integrity of the font, I will just change the font size. Makes it look that little bit better. Then I'll align it that way. Change back to the mouse cursor. Move it up there. So it's Anarchy Online. And then we want another box. And we'll just say, let's say it's a playthrough video. Again, the font's as big as it was last time. So we'll creep that down. We'll go playthrough. Oh, nope, I'm not in the box. Make sure I am. Yep, there we go. Playthrough. And I want to make the playthrough number big so it's easy to spot for people that are looking at tiny little JPEGs. So I'll move that up about as close as it will go, like so. And then lastly, the third box. There's another box, and we'll say this is number 21. And then I'll really make that as big as it can stand, like so. So people looking for the next episode they want to see this. And I say, right, okay. And I can just close that, go back to my media window, pull this along. And I usually line it up with the fade there. So one fades, the other starts fading in. And I'll drop a film dissolve at the beginning of that and also to the end of that. So that gives us this. Right, now, as you can see, I'm logged into game Anarchy Online at the moment, and I'm just on a little Froob account I've got, and usually this guy doesn't do much else except run back and forth buying med suits. That's his job. Useful to have, and I recommend that to anyone that wants. Now, as I'm recording, I'll be listening to what I'm saying, looking at the image, make sure it's interesting, and this is what takes the time. It's kind of directing your video as you're watching it. You might sort of do something here.
You don't really need to have it at 50 megabytes per second, yeah, because it'll only be...
Shut up and listen. Now, while I'm stood... So I'll be doing all that, and I might think, that voice didn't sound quite right, and I will then use this software to... Or let's say I've been standing there for a while, and at this point, someone asked me something in the room, and I had to just not, stop recording, etc. Or I needed to go to the toilet. See, it's auto saving the project. And what I'll do is I'll grab the splice tool again, like so, and move along. Say to there, and splice again. Then I'll remove the blank part, let's call it. Leave the playhead over there. Drag it across like so. And then film dissolve, and you can see it goes across both, and also the auto fade. So now round, then that will start peaking at 48, 46, and even 50 megabyte per second. Now, if you don't have what... Now, I've decided I don't want to do that, so I can undo all of that. So we're actually... This is videoception, because we're now editing the video that you're going to be watching at the start of this video, and the second half of this is me recording myself editing this video. But yeah, effectively, that's how I do it. Now, when I get to the end of the video, I'll go along to here, File, Export, Media. Now, there's a massive amount of options on how you export it. I never use the default. No, I don't. I will go on here, press Y, and you can see down the bottom, you've got Vimo 1080p HD. You can see there, and it's 16 to 20. Now, if you're uploading to YouTube, I've tried every which way. Unless you're uploading at something like 4K, then what will happen is YouTube itself will compress that file down, and you will lose, I mean, I could go, right, let's export at... There you go, 60, and I'll get a 3 gigabyte file for 3 minutes. Now, YouTube will spend a good hour processing it and put it out at 16. So really, there's just no point in doing that. You can set the maximum bitrate as high as you like, but the target bitrate is what's going to affect the size the most. Now, with Shadowplay, it can make it look a little washed out. And usually what I will do to fix that is I will do that here and just go to overall saturation 1.2. So it's 0.2 higher. So now it looks on screen as it did in game. I'm not sort of making it more vibrant than it was. And once I'm happy with how it looks, I will give it a name and export it to a drive where I've got the space. Once that's done, then very simply, I will just upload it. Now, you've got two options. You can queue it, which is this option here, or you can just tell it to go. Now, if you hit export, it will use the Premiere Pro software program to do it, and it kind of locks you out of Premiere or doing anything else in Premiere while you're doing it. So I tell it to queue, and Premiere also comes with Media Encoder, which I like because it means I can carry on using my computer quite a bit better. Again, Mercury processor, GPU acceleration, CUDA. So you can see it's there. I can double check how it's being set, what it's going out at. I always have it at 4.2 on high profile. The rest doesn't really matter. Audio, pretty much leave that alone. It seems to get it right. And that's kind of it. It's literally done. So once it's all there, I can just click OK, and it will start exporting the file. And that's it. Once that file's exported, I upload it to YouTube. So there you go, folks. That's how I record my videos using Shadowplay and Adobe Audition. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, folks. Bye for now.